No World Cup games today as the quarterfinals will get started tomorrow. France will introduce the round taking on Morocco. Meanwhile, in the NHL, there's still a decision that has yet to be made on Anaheim center Leo Carlsson and the offer sheet that was given to him by the Philadelphia Flyers. That deadline is Friday. However, another offer sheet decision was made. The Utah Mammoth matching New Jersey's one-year, $4.775 million offer sheet for forward Barrett Hayton. So Utah will remain with Hayton on the roster. In college sports, the Big 12 announced a conference-wide partnership with Monster Energy, including branding with jersey patches as well as court and field logos for all of its teams in football and men's and women's basketball. To baseball, Tigers pitcher Justin Verlander announcing today that he will retire after this season. Meanwhile, Blue Jays pitcher Max Scherzer is scheduled to make a rehab start with the Buffalo Bisons. They host Scranton tonight in downtown Buffalo, 6:35 first pitch at Salem Field. You could also hear the game on our sister station, the Bet 1520. MLB games on the docket today. The Blue Jays taking on the Giants much earlier than yesterday. They'll play at 3:45 today. Yankees and Rays at 6:40. Mets and Royals first pitch 7:10. It'll be a 7:40 start for the Guardians and Twins. Same time for the Red Sox and the White Sox. This update's brought to you by Paddock Chevrolet, with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Derek Kramer. You're listening to WGR.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Uh-oh, guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody?
Monday, Tuesday, hump day is halfway.
It's Mike Schopp.
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
And the Bulldog.
Hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on, I know you can hear me.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Woo-hoo!
On WGR.
Hump day!
Sports Radio 550.
Gonna be there in an hour.
I'll tell you what today is. Today feels like, I don't know if there have been any days off prior to this since the World Cup started, but there is no soccer today, and that's jarring. I believe there is one tomorrow, and then one. It starts up again. I know we're down to 8 teams, so you can't have games like 3 games a day anymore. But I missed it last night, and I'm missing it again today. I'm sorry, I'm not that interested in where LeBron James is going to end up. I mean, I love him, but it's just not that interesting to me. Anyway, welcome in today. I am the Bulldog. Mike continues to enjoy some well-earned time off, and for today, that means for a bit. We've got a couple of hours of our buddy Sal Capaccio from a secret hideout remote location. He's on from home. Sal, good afternoon. Thanks for squeezing me in for a couple hours.
No, I'm looking forward to it. Can you see me? I'm looking at you.
I got you.
I can still see you.
I got you.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Making sure. This technology is amazing. I feel like I'm doing the pod with Matt Bove here.
Yep.
And, we're both in different locations, but we can see each other. So, I mean, that's just the way this business has evolved. It's great to be here.
There's enough of a lag that I have to close it now that I now confirmed, I look, I look like I usually look like hell. You look great. And that's it. Because when I was still you were starting to talk, and I was still talking on the screen, and that threw me off. So I got to close that crap up now. But anyway, good to have you with us.
I don't have that problem, by the way, because I'm looking at you through the native video. Because I have the link to kind of connect.
Yeah.
So you're watching on the YouTube stream, which is a little behind. But because the camera is right there for you, my camera is connected to the video, like the native player. So I can actually see you in real time, because otherwise I would have that exact same issue and be like, I can't do this.
I love how Sal just assumes I'm watching on YouTube and not on the Twitch.
Oh,
I mean,
that's right.
how do you know? How do you? Yeah, I still don't really even know what the Twitch is.
That's
I don't, and I think maybe as a goal, I won't ever find out. I don't think I need to know. So far, so good. Anyway, I'm glad to have you. along. How's summer been? Like we have not. We're going to play golf Monday, and I'm excited about that.
Yes,
because I'm off after this week. And you hit me up with an opening, and I'm like, couldn't be happier. In fact, when you and I were talking right before that, my wife and I, she was like, "Well, we didn't line up these vacations. She just she switched departments. She's still at the same hospital, but she's got a new job." And so we couldn't line up vacation. She's like, "What are you going to do on vacation?" I'm like, "I'm just going to try to golf every day that it's nice enough." And then you called and said, I have a golf opening Monday. I'm like, "All right, there we go. We're off." So I've got Monday.
Happy. I'm happy to be able to do that because I know sometimes, with your show starting at 3 and like depending on what time it is, but it was early enough. I'm like, you know what? I'll give Bulldog a ring. And I didn't know you were off, so it worked out anyway.
Yep.
But even if you weren't, it might have been able to, so I did. My summer's been great. We just have a lot of baseball, which is normally the case, but this is the 12-year-old year, and it's a big year. It's the last true year of Little League. Cooperstown year. We're going to Cooperstown in a few weeks in August, and it's a whole week-long thing. This is different than, just going and playing a game at Doubleday Field. This is the big complex. There's 100 and something teams every week. They do, but every week there's a different tournament, and you play like 7 games or 6 games in a playoff. I will actually have to stay in the Army barracks with the kids for a week. So leading up to it, we're playing more this year because of that. So you're getting ready for it. So there's more tournaments. There's travel. There's house playoffs starting tonight, which is actually part of the reason I can't, be on the full show with you. We have a great house league in North Buffalo. We love it. You've been a part of it. Mm-hmm. And, that's kind of been dominating my summer. But I'm trying. I really am. People say this. You know this. You have kids. You've gone through this. They're a little older than my son. People always say to savor every minute, and I am really trying to do that this year as much as possible.
Yeah, it's important to do because, everyone who has adult kids like mine know, like there's a moment where they don't need you to do really much of anything anymore, and it's sort of like, I'm left to just do what I want. Whenever I want. What is it? This is like being 20 again in a way, except you don't feel as good as you felt probably when you were 20. Anyway, I'm glad that we get to spend some time together today because I hope it's not too embarrassing that I admit. Like I texted you a couple of questions that I've been seeing referenced on social media. Both Twitter and Facebook. When I say social media, it really means Twitter mostly, but I know it's X now, and I still feel weird calling it Twitter or X, and I just call it social media, but it's really Twitter and Facebook. I've never really figured out how to use Instagram effectively. I mean, I know a lot of people love it. Anyway, I've seen a lot of Twitter and some Facebook. There's some sort of uniform thing out there that I don't think I really want to get into because we don't really know what's happening there. But because I've been sort of wondering what's happening with that, I'm like skeptical about everything. And I saw a lot of posts over the holiday weekend about a second open practice being added because I do know that there has been somewhat of an uproar from Bills fans, specifically I would say Bills fans who don't have PSLs and thus season tickets in the new stadium when it was announced that they would have the annual blue and red scrimmage. It was, I think eventually it became known, or maybe it was known right away. I don't remember. But once people realized, like, wait, I can't just walk to the walk into the stadium for that blue and red practice like I always have. I'm sort of shut out unless I have a PSL. Some fans that maybe that's their only exposure for them and their kids to the Bills, much like training camp can be, kind of flipped out. And so now there is a second practice added, and now the people with PSLs are mad. Like, what? Help me make heads or tails of this.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to summarize it. So we knew the return of the blue and red would happen, and they do call it a scrimmage. It is more of an open practice with some maybe live periods of it. It's not really a scrimmage. It used to be an offense-defense thing. However they want to do it is fine. It's an open practice, blue and red. And for years at the former stadium, it was, hey, it's open to the public. You might need a ticket, but you gotta get a ticket, and then once you get in, it's general admission. You could sit where you want. Right. It's a great day to bring a lot of the kids. It's been daytime, it's been nighttime. It's been a really great event. Well, this year we knew that the new stadium was going to be opening during this particular time period, and they made it on August 8th. it came out. Now, Ryan Talbot of Syracuse.com, Matt Perino's partner in, when they covered the team over there.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, Shout Podcast. He was the one that put out an article from an email that he had seen from someone about this particular practice this year being a PSL holder event first, meaning PSL holders, season ticket holders, will have the right to buy a ticket before anybody else. Now, I've not seen this officially come out from the team yet in this capacity, but this has been the talk, and apparently that is the case. And we know that because the team has talked about it, but I haven't seen the official kind of documentation on it.
Right.
So either way, it's going to happen. When that became public, there was a pretty big uproar from people who are not PSL holders, who are not season ticket holders, saying, wait a minute, you're pricing us out of this as well? This is my one chance to take my family, take my kids. I can't afford PSLs. I can't afford season tickets. This is the one time. This is ridiculous. But the people owning PSLs are like, wait a minute, I paid a lot of money to have the ability to go to these events inside this stadium. This is the first event inside that stadium. Of course I should have the right.
Right. I don't want somebody
that.
who didn't do what I did and make the financial commitment, whether they're able to or not. I mean, I was able to, so I've made a commitment. I don't want some guy sitting in my seat. I bought a PSL, my first chance in there. I want to see what it feels like to sit in my new seat, right?
Yeah, and I'll say this from our standpoint, and full disclosure, we are PSL holders here in our family. And so I think, I can speak on this from both somebody who covers the team and someone holding a PSL. And the issue actually, Yana said to me a while back was, look, like, it's not about the people getting the PSL, first. For her, the general admission part of it was what mattered, which is she wants to sit in her seat and say, I want to know where I'm sitting. I've never been there.
Right.
I want to know where the concession stand is. I want to know where to send Max to go to the bathroom. Something like that when in the stadium. I think it's a valid point. Like, you get your seat for this. You paid. It is the first event inside the stadium. If you paid for a PSL, I think there is some sort of, hey, you have the right to be able to do that. So that happened. People were mad. Over the weekend, Lance Lysowski of the Buffalo News was first to have an article and reporting this, and he had an interview with Pete Gwelly saying Pete and the Bills saw the reaction about what we just talked about. Mm-hmm. He spoke with Joe Brady. They said, let's figure out something. Maybe we can get other people to experience this stadium. And Joe Brady came up with the idea of let's have another open practice. We'll do it on August 18th, which is basically the day before the Bills go to Cleveland for a joint practice with the Browns. So they're adding an open practice, and in this one, it is not going to go to PSL holders first. It is basically going to be treated, from my understanding from this article, the way that all these other events, red and blue and open practices
Go
have
get
been.
a ticket at some advertiser, partner, or whatever, sponsor.
Correct.
And, okay.
So I saw this, and I tweeted it. I tagged Lance and said, gave him credit for it, and I wrote an article about it. I was personally not expecting the response I got on social media, which was there are a lot of PSL holders now who are upset about this and saying, wait a minute, it's another event in the stadium. I paid for every event in the stadium. That's what my PSL gives me, which, by the way, it doesn't actually. There are different things inside the contract there that it's not every single event, but that's getting into the weeds a little bit. But the overall point is that they're upset about this. And there are some who aren't upset. I'm not. Like, I think going to the first event is cool, and I think my wife and son having a chance to kind of know where they're sitting, know the layout of the land, all that kind of stuff is great. After that, I don't care if someone goes sits in my seat for an open practice personally. Like, go. I think I want everybody to enjoy this stadium. But there are PSO holders who are upset that the second one was added and they are not getting their first right because they paid for that the way that they look at it.
Yeah. Well, I can appreciate the PSL holders' viewpoint there. And certainly the commitment. I mean, you can speak to it firsthand. I mean, it's a commitment, whatever level you choose to do that at. But in a way, Sal, I think because of the public stake in the construction, the public cost, the taxpayer money, to an extent. I mean, I don't want to be exactly this guy, but I do want to be heard at least saying one time, maybe 20 times, we're all paying for the stadium. I mean, it's tax, it's public money. So, yes, I am not a PSL holder, and so I am not on the hook for thousands of dollars for that. And, I can see the point, but you're being given the opportunity to go for the very first event and experience all of that. I don't want to say it's exclusive. But it is it's closed. It's only open to people who made that leap and paid that money. So you're getting taken care of. I think it's not like you're getting skipped over. It's an opportunity to let the general public, the taxpayer that can't afford the PSL, also enjoy the stadium. And I think that makes a ton of sense. I don't know if the Bills felt like they were surprised by the backlash initially and had to pivot to this, or whether they had it maybe in the back of their minds all along. But however they got there, I think they got to the correct solution.
Agreed.
I'd have a hard time with somebody who's going to have access for that first event saying, you didn't pay $20,000, so you shouldn't get to come and sit in the stadium this one time. Like, I mean, dude, back off. Like, you're going to get your time, and this is for everyone else. And I think given how costly it has been, and I don't assume either that everyone who could afford these things did it lightly. They probably had to carve away vacations or other things that you might consider luxury items from your life because you wanted to choose to invest in going to the games. It means a lot to you. I'm going to have a hard time having sympathy for someone who gets to go to basically a closed event. I mean, it's only for PSL, so it's you can't just walk in there and then still be mad that there's an event a week later or 10 days later. I can't really respect that.
It feels to me like almost like being mad for the sake of being mad, to be quite honest with you.
Right. And
Right?
kind of
And
a little gluttonous, I think, maybe.
Yeah, I just think there's already too much of in this world of, well, you're down there, I'm here, I paid for something, I got something, I don't want you to have any ability to have that. I think there's already a little too much of that. I
agree.
want everybody to share. I've been to this stadium. I think it's the coolest thing for people to see, for kids to go and have an experience to go in there. I want everybody to be able to do that. So I hope that people have some sort of ability. And look, it's not a preseason game. It's not a regular season game. You're not, giving more people, additionally not the PSL holders, a chance to have a game like that. This is a practice that wasn't previously scheduled, and the team saw the reaction. And I agree with you. I don't know. Now, in the article from Lance, it did say, Pete Welly said they anticipated the reaction. Now, who knows if they anticipated as hardcore as it was, right?
Yep.
That they decided to do this. And yeah, I think they came up with a good solution here because it's a really good thing, I think, for everybody in this community at some point who wants to experience the stadium to be able to do that. And by the way, there will be events in that stadium that PSL holders do not have the right to their seat. And when you walk through and you were given the sales pitch, you were told you're going to have your personal seat license to all these events. However, if you really talked with people or read the contract, there are going to be events that is not the case. I'm going to tell you the way it was explained to me. This is the best way to put it. I didn't realize there are, I guess, bands, acts, performers, as you can understand, who say, for example, the Rolling Stones was given this as an example to me, who say, look, when we go on tour, we don't want football fans, quote unquote, at our concert. We want rock and roll fans. So we control the ticketing. We say, hey, we're putting all the ticketing up and want, a certain clientele, not the stadium holder, not the football team holder.
Right.
So that's going to happen at some point. I don't know when, Bulldog. I don't know what concert. I don't know what event, but that's going to happen at some point to people.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that is something that should be made. I've seen you tweeting about that, and I feel like it should be readily available what those lines are, so that there is no confusion about it. Because I wonder if there are any people out there that signed on the line in part because they're like, well, when U2 comes around, I'll have access to my seat. And if that's not the case, I don't know that that's a deal breaker for somebody. But if it's something that helped get you across the finish line and it's not going to be the case, I'd like you to be able to find that out without having to read too much fine print, I guess.
And then find out after the fact, right?
Right,
You're
right,
anticipating an act or a game. I mean, maybe there's a college football game coming. Maybe there's an outdoor hockey game.
Soccer,
I don't know what it is.
Something, whatever, yeah.
Soccer, but there's going to be an event or two or whatever. And I do think over the next few years, we're going to be in for this. This very discussion you and I are having right now about the reaction is going to happen here for the next few years. I just anticipate that happening because of these little nuances and fine print and all those things that we're talking about.
Yeah. 803-0550 is the number if you got a thought on this. We can spend, a few minutes on it. I know, I led the show with it, so obviously we're both aware that it has been something that there have been a lot of strong opinions about. And with that in mind, we'll squeeze one in here. Rarely do we take a call in the first segment of the show, Sal, but here we are. It's because you're here. That's why. People love you. Justin is first up this hour. Hi, Justin. Thank you for calling. You're on the air here on WGR.
How you doing, guys?
Good,
Thanks
man.
for taking my call.
Sure.
I agree with everything you're saying, but I'm a 14-year season ticket holder. I agree with the taxpayer dollars. I'm paying the PSL, paying the increased ticket cost on top of being taxed the money that all of us are chipping in to pay for this stadium. So, in fact, this PSL holders, season ticket holders, being doubly charged. I know people in this day and age are going to say it's not fair, but absolutely, season ticket holders should have 100% priority over every single event there. Concert, practice, exhibition, whatever is there, 100%. And if you couldn't do the PSL and we'll just use a roundabout number here, if your $100 tax bill per year for 10 years thinks you have the right to have priority over somebody that pays the parking, pays the beer prices, pays the increased tickets every year and make that commitment, I feel sorry for people that think that way, that they think their, roundabout number, $100 tax bill over 10 years.
Well, Justin,
I
would, I would just want to say back to you that I think I don't know what the fine print of those contracts looks like, but I'm under the understanding that you've purchased a PSL for the Buffalo Bills.
Correct.
Right? So you have the right to – so I don't know. I would not have expected concert tickets. I would expect some, early bird, pre-sale type opportunity, but I would not expect to be guaranteed my seat just because I bought a PSL for the Bills, despite the price. I recognize there's a huge disparity between what you're paying and what I'm paying because you're paying for the PSL, but it's to support the Bills and the construction of the stadium, but it's specifically for the Bills. So I think you're sort of stretching out. I think you're taking liberties with the idea that I own this seat. You own that seat, I think, for the Bills. And everything else, I think, probably has to be negotiable, I guess, I would say. How'd I do, Sal?
Yeah, I understand this point of view. I also think it's one open practice, right? And I don't know if someone's going to say, well, what else is it going to be after that? I don't know. Again, I just... Let's think about our community and people that we all know who have kids, who have families, who can't afford to go to the stadium. This is their one chance. And you're going to get your chance. You're going to get 10 games, 2 preseason games, 8 regular season games. That's going to continue on. I struggle with someone then being upset about one open practice.
Yeah. Because
you paid for the PSL. It just does not equate in my world the way that I think.
That's that's exactly how I feel. Let's see what Bill has to say. Hi, Bill. Thanks for calling. You're on WGR.
Hey, guys. So PSL holder, and I'm super excited we get first dibs at the blue and red, right? I think that's only fair. Now, the reaction of other people, the Bills selflessly decided to have an open practice for those without PSLs. How on earth are we so selfish as a society that we're mad that people that don't get to enjoy the games like we will at least get to go to the stadium and check it out? Like, what are we doing? Just chill out for a bit and let people enjoy it. It's a practice. Like, are you really that upset about a practice? I feel like I'm Allen Iverson.
I'll bet a lot of people had that exact thought as you said that the second
Has
time.
the show ever sounded older, Bulldog?
Right. Good one.
I know. I'm 46. Leave me alone.
Bill, do you make noises
I
when you
hear
sit
you.
down and
I
get
think
up?
you said it. You said it the way I wanted you to, the way that I wanted to say it. I agree with that. That's the way I feel about it. Like, I think it's cool that other people are going to get a chance to go who wouldn't normally get a chance to go.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things here, we got to take a break, but we can take some more calls on this after the break if people have more to say about it. Certainly, I recognize we're only taking 2 calls. But, I think when the training camp schedule got announced, I made the point that, it's another venue, it's another way that people who can't pay the going rate, pay the full freight, can expose, themselves or their kids, their families to the Bills, and it's dwindling, right? I mean, the fact that you have free open training camp practices at all in this era maybe is incredible. Maybe it's antiquated, but it's one of those charming things that sort of gets lost as the steamrollers just kind of keep rolling us over, and everything is about, who can pay, the top dollar. And so one open practice on the heels of already an exclusive open practice, I don't know, man. Being mad about that just seems really short-sighted to me. But, I feel you. Like, you're paying the money, and maybe you feel like you're not getting, other people are getting the same benefit that you're paying for. I guess I can see that, but geez, man, like, if you can afford it, you should be grateful, I think, and appreciate that other people that can't want to at least see it and feel it and experience it. 803-0550 is the number. Sal Capaccio is with me until 5 o'clock today. We'll have his podcast partner, I think Sal already mentioned, taping a podcast with Matt Beauvais from Channel 7. He's going to be on. I don't know what happens when I join forces here against Sal and Matt with their podcast. It's always Game Day in Buffalo. But we'll have Matt on with us at 4, and then Sal will split at 5, and I'll have Paul Hamilton join me then to further digest what has and hasn't happened in this Sabres offseason. Again, 803-0550. If you got any thoughts on the open practices the Bills have scheduled, hit us up. Again, Sal in for Mike on the Bulldog. This is WGR.
For more comfort.
Now's the perfect time to make yourself comfortable with a new electric heating and cooling system from Belknap.
In Western New York, summer and winter bring extreme temperature conditions. Make yourself comfortable with Mitsubishi electric heat pumps, designed to keep your home cool in the summer and warm in the winter, no matter how hot or cold it gets outside. Call Belknap today to learn more.
I'm Gary Gorfel, president of Belknap. We work on your schedule. We don't charge more for weekends and evenings. That's why we say,
give Belknap a ring.
for the Bills, I guess the question is, can Joe Brady, even though he was already there, be like John Gruden was to Tony Dungy as it pertains to Sean McDermott? Can a team be on the cusp with a defensive-minded head coach, and then you make that switch and immediately that gets them over the hump? It's a strange thing because you're not bringing in a totally different guy who had already been a head coach and already had success. I think they're better on the back end than they were last year. Cole Bishop, in my opinion, has a chance to take a step and become one of the top tier safeties. And I think the Bills are that next team, especially when we're talking about the AFC.
That is ESPN's Ryan Clark giving you a somewhat of a abbreviated outlook on the 2026 season for the Bills. Good to have you along with us here. I am the Bulldog. Sal Capaccio is along for a couple of hours here with us today. We're talking about the Bills' 2 scheduled open practices at the stadium. And Sal, just as we've gotten up and running and done one segment of the show, the Bills, one of the Bills' Twitter accounts, just sent out the details. I'm sure these have been known and probably emailed to season ticket holders, but for anyone who doesn't know, they just sent out the whole rundown on what's going to happen here, right? So just like we've been saying, season ticket members will have their season seat locations and access their tickets through the Bills app. There's an opportunity to get a parking pass if you already have one that you paid for the season. You can access that. You can also pay for parking if you don't have a PSL or a seat with parking included. And then it says the tickets for the August 18th open practice are going to be limited to 4 seats per order and will be available through Ticketmaster beginning Tuesday, July 21st at 10 a.m. Tickets are complimentary, but you have to go through, jump through the hoop of getting one or getting 4. And then parking also available for $5 on that day at the various lots. So that's some of the background on the situation. I mean, I credit the Bills for pivoting to having the second practice. I wondered, honestly, when it first started happening, is this just noise? But good for them that they figured it out.
Can I also make the point, if you are a PSL holder, you can still go to the second practice. you have the same process as everybody else, but it's not like they're not doing one for PSL holders and one for non-PSL holders.
Yeah, and you're not
right?
You're just not guaranteed to be able to sit in your seat because somebody else might be in it by the time you get to it. But yeah, that's right. I mean, nothing in here says if you have, section whatever, seats 3, 4, 5, and 6, that you can't go online on July 21st and get tickets for the other practice. So
they're not going to you're not walking in and they do the facial recognition and go, hey, PSL holder, get out of here.
And correct me if I'm wrong. I know it's the new stadium. So I would expect if people are in town and it's convenient enough that PSL holders will want to be there. And likewise, the general public will want to be there for this other one. Does the new stadium cause this to be a sellout event, Sal? Because I've been at that open practice, the return of the blue and red anyway, numerous times on a Friday in August. And, there's 40,000 people there. It's free. Just walk up. It's pretty casual. Maybe it got as high as 50 one of those years. I don't know. But it's never packed. So it is still just a practice. So I wonder, the allure of the stadium creates, a different scene, of course. I totally get why you and your wife and son and anyone who has bought season tickets would want to get in there and sort of experience it. Like you said, your wife wants to find out where Max is going to have to, go by himself or whatever, and get the lay of the land. But I wonder if that'll even be packed, I wonder if it'll even be a sellout.
I think it will be quote unquote sold out. I think every ticket will be spoken for, but you're not going to see every seat filled.
Right.
That's kind of what's happened in the other practices where we'll get numbers and say, hey, they set a record and 55,000 people or something, whatever the numbers they put out there. But yeah, I think the newest stadium is going to really appeal to a lot of people who might not otherwise do it, say, you know what, I really want to do it because I don't know when I'm going to get a chance to see that stadium.
Right. 803-0550 is the number. Derek is first up this segment. Hi, Derek. Thank you for calling. You're on the air here on WGR.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Huge Bills fan living in Massachusetts. And I went to the last game at Highmark, and I just recently purchased tickets to go watch the home opener. Now, that cost me $700 a ticket for me and my wife to go, right? Plus Airbnb and all that good stuff, right? But it's definitely like with the PSL. I kind of had a question. So if I didn't do season tickets this year, and I bought season tickets next year, maybe got on a waiting list or whatever it may be, but let's say I got the opportunity to get season tickets, will that PSL still be viable next year, or is it kind of like the first year of the stadium, that's when the PSLs are paid for, and then every year after that, does it go away? Do you pay for PSL every year? Basically, is another question.
Well, I think if you are a new Sal might know for sure, but I would say my limited experience, having read about other stadiums and other constructions and other things that have gone on, I think if you become a season ticket holder, a new season ticket holder next year to an available seat, you have to buy the PSL either from someone who wants to sell it, or through the team, through that person who bought it originally. Like, I don't think you don't get to skip a year and then get in the stadium with a season ticket without buying a PSL.
And PSLs are sold out.
Right. So, but I imagine maybe some people will come and go. Right? I mean, is it or not?
Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe not.
Sure, it could happen. But I mean, once you buy the PSL. Boy, that would be kind of weird if you bought one and after a year you don't want it anymore because you bought a 30-year commitment.
Right.
Right? You're getting it for 30 years, made one-time fee basically, and however you want to install that over 30 years. So what happens is you pay that, you get the right to the seat for the next 30 years, but you still need to buy season tickets every year.
Right. But if you want to
That's right.
So I think if you because life changes, who knows, right? Somebody conceivably out there could have thought, I can afford this now, but life changed. And all I'm saying is you don't get to buy a season ticket next year or 2 years from now, if and when they become available, without paying the PSL freight. You're going to have to buy that PSL from from the person who bought it, I think, is how that works.
Do you think there'll be an additional fee to buy it back from the person that bought? It might be more of a question for the ticket office.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I do not want to give you any wrong information beyond what we just kind of hypothesized here.
I just can't.
To our best of our knowledge.
Thank you for the question, Derek. I just can't imagine a scenario where the team left a loophole open where if someone has to bail out after a year or whatever time frame it is, that then you can get in without having to pay that freight. I just can't imagine that exists. So, but yeah, the team can certainly give you a more thorough and definitive answer to the question. Paul is up next. Hi, Paul. Thanks for calling. You're on WGR.
Hi, Sal. Hi, Bulldog. How are you guys today? Thanks
Good, man.
for taking my call.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
All right. I'm a season ticket holder since '88, and I was kind of on the fence about getting a PSL, but I did. And the way it was sold to me, the way I understood it, is that, well, I had necessarily, if let's just say a concert ticket went on sale, I would get first crack at it, kind of like the way you described earlier, Bulldog.
Yeah.
Before it went on the sale to general public, you would get a crack at buying a ticket, not necessarily your seat, but you would get a ticket. So to me, it's almost the same thing. I may not be sitting in my seat, but I'm still kind of getting a ticket before it goes on sale to the general public. So it kind of equates out to the same thing. So people shouldn't be, let's just say, ticked off, hey, I bought this PSL and now I can't sit in my seat for the Rolling Stones concert. Well, you still got a great opportunity to buy one before the general public because they'll open it up to the season ticket holders first. That's the way I understand it. So it's kind of almost the same thing to me. So I'm not getting too excited about it.
But it's not. It's not every event though.
Right. I'm sure there is an exclusion supply somewhere in the wording. Right. Exclusion supply.
Yes.
They're right. Like you said, Sal. Like there will be events where that will not be the case. So if people miss that, I don't know.
actually have the contract language here that Yards Per Pass had tweeted out because we were discussing this online, and this is the screenshot from him at Yards Per Pass. Good Twitter account, by the way.
For sure.
This is the stadium. This is the language in the contract. It says, designated stadium event tickets. Licensee will have priority opportunity to purchase from certain event organizers tickets to certain other stadium events at the stadium before such tickets are marked and sold by such event organizer to the general public. Neither the ECSC nor any stadium party makes any guarantee to the licensee regarding the availability of tickets to a particular stadium event. The licensee acknowledges that the stadium events for which the licensee obtains this opportunity are in the sole discretion of Stadium Co.
I think that's pretty definitive. Wordy, it's lawyery, but I followed, and I'm I can be as dumb as the average rock. Joel is up next. Hi, Joel. Thanks for calling. You're on WGR.
Hey, guys. How you doing today? I appreciate you guys taking my phone call.
Sure, man.
So I'm a PSL holder. I've been a season ticket holder for quite some time. And at first when I heard the news, I was a little ticked off, only for a reason. I won't be able to make the scrimmage. I'll be attending a wedding. And, at first I wanted to, really get in there. And then, the more I thought about it, and it's kind of what you guys, mentioned, I'm going to have so many more games to go to. And actually, I split the seasons with a buddy of mine. And he even mentioned to me, he's like, I want my first experience to be
a real game.
Walking in there.
Yeah.
I want it all. And, for anybody who's on that fence, let other people do it. I'm actually maybe even considering, giving away my preseason games. And, I got 2 kids of my own, and I'm going to have time to take them to the games. But, maybe I want to just let a family to take, 60 seats, but maybe you get to take your kids to a game. And who knows when the next time they're going to be able to actually do that. I think it's a great opportunity to give access to other people, an opportunity without spending $1 bajillion.
Well done, Joel. I'm glad to hear that you came around. Let's hit up a timeout. Sal Capaccio in for Mike until 5 o'clock today. I am the Bulldog. 803-0550 is the number. If you've got any thoughts on the Bills' open practice schedule for August, hit us up. I'm the Bulldog, and this is WGR.
Sin so long, all the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over, it's about time. Oh, all sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. down the rabbit hole, down the rabbit hole of life. And now it's about to leave. Oh, roller coaster.
Hanging out with y'all on a hot Wednesday in July. Sal Capaccio from his home studio joining me until 5 o'clock. I'm the Bulldog. Mike is on vacation this week. We've been discussing for the balance of the hour here the Bills' scheduling of two different events at the stadium, open practices for the team, one for PSL holders and season ticket holders, and the other which are one and the same, by the way, and the other for the general public. And we've just taking reaction to that because some people who bought the PSLs feel somewhat slighted after initially people who didn't buy PSLs feeling like, wait a minute, I'm being locked out of the stadium again by not being able to go to what has been traditionally a free open practice. So the Bills have done their best to rectify that, and that's what we've been talking about. Ashton is first up this segment and probably last up this segment because we're close to the top of the hour. Ashton, thanks for calling. You're on WGR.
What's up, guys? How you doing? Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Yep.
So I usually don't call in, but this has kind of been one of those things that's been firing me up, seeing things online and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I have a PSL. I'm fortunate to be able to have one. As PSL owners and as Bill season ticket holders, we are getting access to both first dibs at training camp tickets. Then we have first dibs at this blue and red scrimmage. Then we also get our tickets to the games and everything else. If for some reason anybody has an issue with them letting other people in the public go and just enjoy a practice and see this new stadium that I think everybody, fan regardless if you paid the PSL or not, should be able to get a chance
to see this stadium. Also, for me, I mean, it's cool for everybody, but think about the kids, for example, that aren't going to be able to get in there and see Josh Allen live. They might not have even been able to go to training camp. With the way it is now, everybody wants to go. If you can't sit there, I mean, what is watching Josh Allen toss some balls in a net going to be different for you when you get to go to all these different games compared to what it would be like for an 8-year-old kid that gets to lay eyes on him for the first time? That's all I got to say. Have a good one, guys.
All right, Ashton, appreciate the call. Yeah, I think we're, Sal and I are very much, I think, in agreement. And Sal, as a PSL holder, I think, which, you outrank me on this one. Like you took that plunge. So good for you.
Sometimes we talk about these things, and I know you're not a PSL holder, but like sometimes I feel weird if I'm going to speak and talk about it from the perspective if you're not, and I don't want someone to go, well, you don't know what I'm feeling because you're not one. Well, I am. And so I have an opinion on this.
Right.
And it's not just someone who covers the team. And I have zero issue, and I think the last caller summed it up. I think it'd be selfish to say, oh, my God, every single time I walk in that stadium, I should have the first and only right or whatever. No, I think it's going to be awesome that other people get a chance to enjoy this stadium.
Well done, Sal. All right, sit tight. We'll take a timeout here. I don't know what you and your buddy Matt Beauvais have planned for me. Hopefully something. I'll just sit back and watch the fireworks when Matt Beauvais from Channel 7, co-host of the It's Always Game Day in Buffalo podcast with Sal, joins us next on WGR.
No World Cup games today as the quarterfinals will begin tomorrow. France taking on Morocco. Meanwhile, in hockey, Chicago's Connor Bedard underwent shoulder surgery and the approximate recovery time looking around 4 months, the team announcing today. That timeline would mean that Bedard would miss the start of the regular season. While a decision has not been made yet on Anaheim Ducks center Leo Carlsson and the offer sheet from the Philadelphia Flyers, that deadline is Friday, we do have an offer sheet decision that was made today. The Utah Mammoth matching New Jersey's 1-year, $4.77 million offer sheet for forward Barrett Hayton. Hayton will remain with the Mammoth for this season. To college sports, the Big 12 announcing a conference-wide partnership with Monster Energy, including branding with jersey patches as well as court and field logos for all of its teams in football as well as men's and women's basketball. To baseball, Tigers pitcher Justin Verlander announcing today that he will retire at the end of the year. Blue Jays pitcher Max Scherzer scheduled to make a rehab start today for the Buffalo Bisons. They host Scranton tonight at Salem Field, 6:35 first pitch from downtown Buffalo. You could also hear the game on our sister station, the Bet 1520. MLB games on the docket today, the Blue Jays and Giants. That one is underway now. Yankees and Rays at 6:40, Mets and Royals at 7:10 first pitch, Guardians and Twins at 7:40, and this is the same start time for the Red Sox and the White Sox. This update's brought to you by Paddock Chevrolet, with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Derek Kramer. This is WGR.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
They have this Panther sound effect that is just the cheesiest, stupidest sounding thing. Big voice guy going, Panther goal scored by Sam Reinhart.
Where'd you get that thing? I trapped it. Been keeping it in my bathroom at the motel, feeding it old pizza.
It's Mike Schopp.
If you're calm, that wondrous big cat will be calm too. But if you're scared, that beautiful death machine will do what God made it to do. Namely, eat you with a smile on its face.
And the Bulldog. On WGR, Sports Radio 550.
Rolling along here, a hot one in July in Buffalo, New York. I'm the Bulldog. Thanks for being with us. Us being Sal Capaccio, who's joining us from his home studio. And we are joined now on the West Her Hotline by News Channel 7's lead sports director, sports reporter. What is your title, Matt Beauvais? I mean, whatever. I play golf with you. I should know. I could have looked, and I didn't, and it's being sloppy now. The king, czar of Channel 7 Sports. What is your title, Matt Beauvais?
Director, but really any of the things that you said, I feel like work just perfectly.
All right. Well, it's nice. We know Matt in-house here under the Odyssey umbrella as the co-host of It's Always Game Day in Buffalo with our Sal Capaccio. So I thought while Sal was going to be in here co-hosting with me for a couple of hours, that it would be a good time to bring Matt in. Matt, do you want to jump in on the conversation we had for the first hour regarding, maybe you've already done this on a podcast form with Sal, regarding the two open practices that the Bills have scheduled and now, as of a little while ago, officially announced?
I really like what the Bills did here. I think that there was a lot of unnecessary kind of blowback on this. I also am coming at it not from a PSL standpoint. So, like, for me, obviously, I'm not somebody who has a PSL. I didn't spend my money to have a PSL. But I feel like if you do, you have a lot of opportunities to get there to the stadium. And if you don't, this is the best opportunity you're going to have. And, you know, we have been fortunate in the media to get several sneak peeks and looks at the stadium. And every time we're posting stuff, that's the comment we see most often. I'm never going to be able to get here. I need to look at these videos because I won't have a chance to see the stadium. So this feels like a really good opportunity for at least 60,000 people to come in and see the stadium. So I'm glad that they're doing an additional thing to the blue and red, because it would have felt a little icky to me if there wasn't that opportunity for fans who don't have season tickets, who don't have PSL.
You know what else was just you brought up to me, and someone texted me this, and it's a good reminder, and I think it's been lost kind of in the shuffle, guys, which is the second open practice is actually after the first preseason game. So PSL holders not only have the first open practice, you also have the first preseason game right after that, the following week, and then it's the second open practice.
And this all kind of builds into the whole weird training camp schedule thing this year because it feels like they're not in Rochester very long. But now it's starting to make sense why the schedule was built the way it was, because I know that the longer that they're in Rochester, the more open practices there are and the more chances people get to see the team. But with the holiday, with the preseason, with the multiple preseason games, the open scrimmage, and now the additional open scrimmage, it all is starting to piece itself together a little bit. And that is a good point, because I didn't even realize that, Sal. I didn't even realize that the first preseason game and the blue and red scrimmage were actually before this second open practice.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's that then. I saw a clip. We can move on. I saw a clip of your podcast talking about the Bills standing as are they the second favorite and the where do they stand? I haven't looked today. Co-favorites for the Super Bowl, and whether that's warranted. And Matt, from what I heard of your opinion, you can take all the time you want to elaborate on it here. Like, I'm one who still is sort of looking at that, and I want to respect it, but I have questions. Like, there's a lot of change here, and I know Josh Allen is the great eraser, but I don't know. I don't want to just assume everything goes as smoothly as it appears from the outside anyway to have gone the 9 years that Sean McDermott was here. I think there's just a lot of new faces and new places that, to me, could take some adjustment time, and their schedule is really tough, especially early.
I agree with you. I actually think that it's probably too much respect, and some people might scoff at that and say they have Josh Allen, they have the most reliable and trustworthy quarterback in the entire NFL. I agree with that, but I also think we're maybe discrediting what Sean McDermott did to raise the floor of this team for several years, and that's not to say that they didn't make the right decision. They are shooting for the ceiling. They are trying to reach a point that they had not gotten with Sean McDermott. But I think the thing that Sean McDermott was so good at was making sure that this team got into the playoffs and didn't have the dips that some of the other contenders have had. The Chiefs are in a different conversation, and obviously the Mahomes injury played into it a little bit last year, even though that didn't happen until after they were going to miss the playoffs. But, look at the Ravens, right? They have had seasons where they just kind of vanish, and it's not just because of injuries. So, the schedule, to me, is the biggest thing. And I know you're saying, okay, well, we're talking about the schedule in July. We don't really know what these teams are going to look like. I have a really hard time imagining that any of those first 5 opponents the Bills are going to play aren't really good next year. So just to get out of that, at 500, if they go into the bye week at 3-3, I don't think it's time to panic at all. I almost think you might sign up for that right now. You'd absolutely sign up for 4-2. And then at that point, if you are 3-3, you're playing catch up a little bit. So I think they should be one of the 4 or 5 favorites, but not co-favorites. I think that's a little.
Let's make sure people know the co-favorites for the AFC to win the AFC.
Right.
They're generally regarded as the 3rd or 4 overall for the NFL because the Rams are there, the Eagles are there, and that's generally the Bills and the Ravens. In the next spot. Okay, let's do a thought exercise, guys. Let's both do this then, because I understand, I get it. Wait a minute, there's a lot of change here. Look at the roster. Yes, you have Josh Allen, and as Michael Kay says on Yankees broadcasts, when the Yankees hit home runs, he says home runs are always the great deodorant, right? They erase a lot of the stink that you might get throughout. And, hey, Josh Allen does that. If something's going wrong, you have that guy. Look around the AFC.
You got to hit a lot of home runs to erase 34 strikeouts over 2 games. Sorry.
Oh, my God. And that's what he was talking about, right? Exactly. He's like, you don't see that number because you see home runs. So, but let's do this for a second. Let's take a step back and look at the rest of the AFC. If you were making the odds, and Bulldog, you guys do reverse AFC power rankings, which actually come into play here. Where are you putting them then? Because I think it makes sense. I understand that from close up you say, well, what's the new defense going to look like? Well, what's the new head coach going to look like? Aren't they doing the same thing in Baltimore? Cincinnati's still got a lot of questions. What's going on in Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes? And, oh, by the way, they did have a few offensive line questions, and they've actually retooled their defense quite a bit. And what about receiver? I just think that every team in the AFC has these questions. The difference is not every team has a Josh Allen or a Patrick Mahomes or a Lamar Jackson.
I think that's an excellent point because I did what I always do when we do the reverse AFC power rankings. I pull up the conference, right, and I'm looking from the top down, and Denver was the one. And I don't know, do you believe they're really that good? Do you believe in Bo Nix enough to just assume they're going to have the same kind of year? New England had the soft schedule. Is there like a comeback to earth for them? Then you're into like Jacksonville, looking at last year's standings. So I guess I get it from that standpoint. I do think Buffalo and Baltimore, I have the same questions about Baltimore that I have about Buffalo, Sal. Which is like, can the figurehead, kingpin, 9-year, long tenured head coach, in the case of Harbaugh, it was 18 years, double, can the new guy just sort of keep the train running on time, so to speak? That we don't know that until you get up and running. I would still expect that there are going to be things that will come up day to day, week to week, that might surprise Joe Brady and Todd Monken. I think or Jesse Minter, excuse me, is Baltimore guys. Yeah. Monken went from Baltimore to Cleveland. I messed that up. Glad I caught it. So I think anytime there's a new guy in that position, especially, I think, you got to just, I want to pump the brakes a little on both of those teams.
Yeah, I agree with basically all of those points. I guess, what is the question with Denver? Is it just Bo Nix? Because maybe I'm giving them too much credit, but I think of Denver a little bit like I think of – so in my head when we were doing this, I was thinking about the Patriots just because, hey, they won the division, and I honestly think even with winning division, they have an easier schedule than the Bills, again, this upcoming season because it just works out that way.
Yeah.
I think of Cincinnati more as like a dark horse, but it feels like that's a pretty common team that people are picking, and that's completely reliant on Joe Burrow's health. But when Joe Burrow plays, that offense is pretty spectacular, and they have a third-place division schedule, which they should be able to take advantage of. Also, really like Jacksonville. I trust Josh Allen more than I trust any of the quarterbacks and the teams that I just mentioned, but I also think the Bills have a much more difficult path than those teams do, just because of the way the schedule falls. I mean, the schedule for the Bills is really challenging.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right, though, Matt. Listen, Denver is like the opposite of the Bills or the Ravens, for example, which is their roster is really good, but you just question the quarterback, where the other two teams, the Bills, the Ravens, maybe the Bengals, you're like, man, the quarterback is awesome, but do they have everything they need around the roster? Denver's really kind of the opposite.
They're buttoned up, yeah.
Yeah, but do you really think Bo Nix is that guy that can be, they have that quarterback who's in the top, 10 in the league. I don't think he's considered like that. I mean, they're kind of like actually Philadelphia when people were questioning Jalen Hurts, and I think Jalen Hurts kind of proved a lot of people wrong by showing he's even better than what a lot of people thought, but they're a very good roster. The thing that is standing in their way is Kansas City. If Kansas City's healthy, and that, if Patrick Mahomes is healthy, they should be better, and that would be something that, to me, I guess put it this way, if you're Denver, is Denver more concerned about Kansas City than Buffalo is about New England? I could make that argument.
Yeah, I think what this exercise has taught me is that maybe they're all kind of in the same bucket in my brain as opposed to like a very clear upper echelon and then a big gap. Like it feels like we could do this and find different teams that go 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're all kind of right in that lump. So it feels like the range of outcomes is greater, and that's why maybe, to me, the second best odds or the co-best odds to win the AFC seemed at the beginning more drastic or dramatic than it ultimately is. It feels like we could get ourselves to, at least I could, 8 or 9 teams that realistically have a chance at representing the AFC in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's right. That'd be as hard a year as there has been recently, because, New England to me at least deserves to be in the conversation. They won the division last year. Same with Denver. So you've got bona fide contenders for the divisions, let alone the conference, on top of whatever Baltimore, Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh are going to give us. I think it is. There's more competition. I think whether it's that the top teams have come back, maybe there's, I think, some of that because of the changes in Buffalo and Baltimore and the injury to Mahomes in Kansas City, and then the elevation of the Chiefs and the Patriots and, I don't know, maybe Jacksonville. Like I feel like Jacksonville last year, even though the Bills beat them in the wild card, I thought going into the playoffs, they were the best team in the conference. They looked the strongest on both sides of the ball, maybe most well-rounded, if not the best. I mean, I don't think Trevor Lawrence is better than Josh Allen, certainly, but I thought they had I thought it was going to be a really challenging, it was. It was a great job by the Bills to win that game. But, yeah, there's more real competition, more depth, I guess, to the conference than there's been in a few years.
Would you sign up for 11 wins for the Bills right now if I told you that they went 11-6? So that is exactly a half game over their over-under from Vegas. They're 10.5. So 11-6, that's definitely putting them in the playoffs for sure. It's probably given them a really good shot at the division just because the Patriots' schedule is going to be more challenging. That one is a really interesting question, at least to me, because I'm of the belief, personally, if they are in, they have a chance to go to the Super Bowl every single year because of Josh Allen and just getting hot at the right time. I don't think, even though we just did all this whole conversation, I don't really see a world where they're the 1 seed in the AFC. I just think the schedule is too hard, and for them to win 13 or 14 games feels a bit far-fetched. So that's why, to me, I'm like, just get them in. If you guarantee that they're in, they can go beat whoever they have to beat, whether it's at home or on the road once they get to the playoffs. So question for both of you. Would you take 11-6 right now, or is that not enough respect?
I feel like the best would you take question hurts to answer, and this one definitely qualifies. There's 11, like I've said for years, Matt, and I don't know, Sal, if you know this, it probably has come up in, the millions of times we've talked on the air over the years. I think if you win 12 games in any NFL season, you've had a great year. I think 12 out of 17 games, it was easier to say when it was 12-4 versus 12-5, but I still think 12 out of 17, you've had a great year. I don't know what, might not guarantee you the top seed. You would hope it at least let you start at home in the playoffs, but still, who knows? So 11 is only one fewer. I think with everything that we've already talked about and how I'm generally feeling about the change here, that I'm not just assuming everything goes smoothly, I think I would have to sign for 11 wins right now. I think I would. I don't like it at all, but I think if you put a gun to my head, I'm going to say yes, I would take 11 wins.
I would take it for the same reasons Matt said, and also because I just did the research here as we were talking about it. It's very rare a team hits 11 wins and misses the playoffs. It's actually only happened a couple times. Now, this is only a 16-game season. I know 11-6 actually puts you in a little different bucket.
Yeah.
But the last time it happened was 2008, the Patriots season when Brady got hurt. Before that was in the 90s. So, you're getting in at 11 wins. So, basically what you're asking me, Matt, is if I gave you right now a guaranteed playoff spot and just let the chips fall where they may, I would take it, yes.
I was at a 4th of July party with my family. My father-in-law was there. My father-in-law has had Bills season tickets forever. And we were having an eerily similar conversation while throwing a football around in the backyard to the Bills and the outlook for the entire season. Because, that's what we do in Western New York. We have the same conversation everywhere we go. And my father-in-law was like, this is what it was like during Super Bowl years, of almost like the stress and anxiety that comes with the regular season to just get to the point that we're talking about this team getting to, of okay, if you could press the fast forward button, and I know the regular season is still really important and still really fun, but I would imagine this is what those teams in the 90s were talking about, and I would imagine this is what they are talking about in Kansas City and what they were talking about in New England for all of those years, of okay, do you have to be the 1 seed or do you just have to get in? Does it really matter? Last year, I thought they had as good of a chance as they have ever had at going on a run, and then they still fell short, and there's a lot of factors that go into that. I just feel like as long as they're in, I like their chances because I think Josh Allen can go toe-to-toe with anybody. And, I mean, he had a really bad day, relatively speaking, against Denver, and they still had a chance to win the game and probably should have won the game. So I think offensively, it'll be much of the same this year. And defensively, I think it'll be a bit more boom or bust, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that there's going to be games when they look far more dominant and also games where they probably get exposed more, and I think that's just going to be the Jim Leonard way of the Rex Ryan aggressive defense and also just personnel on that side. I think they've got a bunch of good players, but not really any truly great players on that side of the ball.
Matt Bove from News Channel 7, co-host of the It's Always Game Day in Buffalo podcast with Sal Capaccio. Sal's also on the line with us. Guys, before we wrap this up, we got about 5 minutes here. I didn't want to just end up talking about football, although I know that's largely the focus of It's Always Game Day in Buffalo. But, Matt, I know, and you too, Sal, we're a week into NHL free agency now. We all know what has happened and what hasn't happened. I'd like a read from both of you on how you're feeling about what Jarmo Kekalainen has done and not done so far this summer.
Go ahead, Matt. I can talk about this after you.
Yeah, I don't think they're done. It just doesn't make sense for them to be done because of the amount of cap space they have, the amount of forwards they have, the lingering names that they're still tied to, mainly Connor Hellebuck and Patrick Kane. It just feels like something else is going to happen. And, I'm like most other people. I wanted to see what Elliot Friedman had to say for his 32 Thoughts podcast. And I listened to the Sabres part, and then I immediately went to the Winnipeg part. And when he's like, hey, I don't think Connor Hellebuck is going to go back to Winnipeg, my mind immediately goes, well, where the heck else is he going to go if it's not the Buffalo Sabres? So that's why, to me, I still feel like that domino might eventually drop. And I will feel, as long as it's not like a gross overpay, which I don't even think at this point it would be, that would be a smart move for the Sabres. And then it's like the domino effect of, oh, well, if Jack Quinn was traded to Winnipeg in part of the Connor Hellebuck trade, then I could understand why they want Patrick Kane and why is he waiting around all the way up to this point. And, there's still so many players that we have questions about on what's going to happen to them, mainly Dylan Larkin. Is he the big domino to fall? Yeah. What's going to happen with this Carlson offer sheet? So I don't think they're done. I think it's incomplete at this point. If they don't do anything else, if the only other thing that they do is sign Peyton Krebs to some sort of contract and then trade out one of their forwards in some minor move, I'll be underwhelmed. But I don't think anybody should be pressing the panic button. I think that this is very methodical. And, hey, you just really trust that Helenius and Auckland and Kulik are all going to take steps. And you hope that Zellweger can be 75% of what Byram was. And Crevier is probably a better version of what Stanley was. But it feels like more is coming.
Yeah.
Because if it's not, then that would be underwhelming.
Yeah, the one piece that I agree with that read of the lay of the land, and I also am paying attention to what any of the kingpin hockey reporters like Elliot Friedman, who you mentioned, are saying, and it still does feel to me like Hellebuck is going to get moved. One problem I have, and I made this point last Wednesday, maybe around now after Jarmo Kekalainen spoke 4 hours into free agency and sounded like he was headed to Muskoka for the summer. Once July 1 tolls, guess what happens? Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen has a 5-team no-trade list. Josh Norris has a 10-team no-trade list. And, you're talking about Winnipeg. And I don't know that Norris was ever going to be a part of a deal, but it's always made sense that Luukkonen would be. And now he has to agree to that. And I don't know. It's not like we're talking about San Jose, L.A., and, Boston. It's Winnipeg. If you have a 5-team no-trade list in the NHL, I'm going to bet the chances, unless you love Winnipeg or your family's from Winnipeg or something, that Winnipeg, much like Buffalo has been, would be on that list. So that muddies the water to me up considerably on a Hellebuck Sabres trade, because I just don't know how they send a goalie back or live with Luukkonen here, unless they can find and this is I'm assuming a lot. I don't know that Luukkonen would nix it. I'm just saying he has that option now, and that complicates things.
It does, but we're also under that assuming that he would be a big piece of that trade, and he might not be because of the Stuart Skinner stuff in Winnipeg. Maybe they don't care about Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, but that was just the way for the Sabres to make it work. I don't see a world where they would have Connor Hellebuck and Luukkonen on their roster. That's just way too much money committed to a goalie. But if the trade ended up being, and once again, this is completely hypothetical, Ryan McLeod, Jack Quinn, Radim Murtka, and something else, right? You just replace Luukkonen with something else. Then I think you just trade Luukkonen to a team that isn't on his no-trade list, because even though he's not super valuable, he's still probably an upgrade to some of the other teams that are looking for goalies. Or if you're getting ready to trade this, make this trade, you'd be like, hey, man, we're trading for Connor Hellebuck. You're going to play 20 games if you're here. So go to Winnipeg and try and be a 1A to a Stuart Skinner 1B, or we're just going to trade you somewhere else, and it might be an even less favorable situation for you to be in. I just don't know how much value Luukkonen has in a trade like this. I don't know if he's like a big piece that Winnipeg is looking for, or if he was just the piece we all immediately jumped to because we know, hey, goalie in, goalie out makes the money make sense for both teams.
Yeah, I could see them wanting to pair Skinner and Luukkonen. They're pretty comparably paid. Like Skinner got a modest contract, right? 3.5, 3.75, something like that. Luukkonen's at 4.5. Like I think you could live with that. So that's why that piece has always made sense. But yeah, good point. If they can fulfill Winnipeg's wishes, and again, I don't mean to be assuming that Luukkonen would say no. I'm just saying it's. I think we've been talking, a lot of people have been talking all along, like, of course he'd be in the package, and he has to agree to that now. That's all I'm saying. It's a little more complicated. All right, boys, you want to promote away. When's the next episode drop?
We already did one today, and it just came out, and we had our buddy John Harris on, sideline reporter of the Houston Texans, because the Bills do play the Texans week 1, so it's very appropriate there. Changes in Houston, what it looks like there, and John's very big on the NFL draft, so we got a lot. I thought John did a great job of analyzing the Bills draft, and what he thought about some of those guys. And then we actually recorded 2 today, Bulldog. So one will come out later this week when we answered some fan questions, right. And some were pretty fun, including who's the best goalie the Sabres have had since they drafted Jack Eichel.
I can't possibly take a kick at that can without thinking about it. And time is tight. All right, Matt, I will see you Sunday on the golf course.
Yes, thank you guys for having me. I very much appreciate it. And, I'll talk to you Sunday. All
right, Matt Bovane, Channel 7 sports director, co-host of the It's Always Game Day podcast in Buffalo on the Western Hotline with us. We thank him for his time. Sal, sit tight. We'll take a time out, and we'll let you try your hand at the Sabres off-season question here as we move into the next segment. Again, Sal's in for Mike. I'm the Bulldog, and this is WGR.
No World Cup games today. Quarterfinals will begin tomorrow. France taking on Morocco. Meanwhile, to hockey, Chicago's Connor Bedard underwent shoulder surgery. He will miss approximately 4 months. That would mean that Bedard could miss the start of the regular season. Anaheim center Leo Carlsson, there's still a couple days left on his offer sheet, and Anaheim's decision whether Carlsson will remain an Anaheim Duck or head to the Philadelphia Flyers in exchange for 4 first-round picks, that deadline being on Friday. Meanwhile, the Utah Mammoth match New Jersey's 1-year, $4.775 million offer sheet for forward Barrett Hayton. To baseball, Tigers pitcher Justin Verlander announced today that he will retire after this season. Blue Jays pitcher Max Scherzer scheduled to make a rehab start for the Buffalo Bisons tonight as they host Scranton. 6:35 first pitch at Salem Field. You can hear that on our sister station, the Bat 1520. MLB games on the docket today. The Blue Jays and Giants. That one so far, the Jays up 5-0 on San Fran in the bottom of the third. Game starting later on, the Yankees against the Rays at 6:40. Mets taking on the Royals at 7:10. Guardians and Twins at 7:40. Same start time for the Red Sox and the White Sox. Those are your sports headlines brought to you by Paddock Chevrolet, with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Derek Kramer. This is WGR.
I think Buffalo is a possibility. I think they're still toying with the idea of maybe getting Connor Hellebuck. I think that discussion is probably still ongoing, and what they have to give up to get Hellebuck might impact whether or not they have a need or have the space to bring in someone like Patrick Kane. He's from there. That would be one of those great stories to go back and maybe finish his career in Buffalo.
Buffalo 21st power play efficiency last year. I think about his value inside the room, on buses, on planes, just the consummate pro.
Tony Luffman and EJ Radick from NHL Network discussing scenarios surrounding the Sabres. Patrick Kane, the focus there, and I don't love it, but I don't have a hot take, Sal. Sal Capaccio is with me for another half an hour still. I don't feel like I have a hot take on Patrick Kane. I should. I think I would rather not. I'd rather some other veteran, but I want a veteran, and like maybe he fits if they do. I think they need to make a trade that involves a package like Matt Bove was laying out last segment, whether it involves a goalie or not, to open up some room. And then I think maybe you want to tell me you want to swap Quinn into Kane into Quinn's spot. I think I'm listening to that. I think that's a respectable enough idea.
Here's where I'm conflicted on the Patrick Kane stuff. They need a guy just like Patrick Kane. I just don't know if they need Patrick Kane, if that's the best fit for him to come to Buffalo and finish his career here. If you stripped away the fact that he's from Buffalo, things that have happened in the past, I think that would be a guy I'd want to have. I would have loved to have Claude Giroux.
Yeah.
That ship has sailed now. Like, they need that. Now, he's not going to help on faceoffs. I did look back. I didn't realize he played center a bit in 2011 and 12 in his faceoffs. He actually took over 200 faceoffs that year. Otherwise, he's never really done that. He's a right winger. But that's not going to help you. But, yes, power play, the things that they need, he can provide. He can help. Giroux would have been a faceoff guy as well. That's why I would like him.
Mm-hmm.
If you just took the name Patrick Kane from Buffalo, New York off, I'd be like, hey, go get that guy. That's the veteran you need after Alex Tuck left and what you need on your power play. I just don't love the fact, because I've kind of said for years and believe maybe Patrick Kane coming to Buffalo wouldn't be the best for Patrick Kane or Buffalo.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel like so much of that it's a long time ago now. And so, we're talking about a different person at a different point in their life. Right. I think, 8 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, I definitely would have been with you. I just worry about whether 5-on-5 he can skate with this team. You know, that's my concern. It's not what his name is and where he's from, because I think the power play stuff, he only had 2 power play goals last year, but he did have 17 assists. The year before that, he might have had 12 power play goals. So maybe it was just a weird year. Maybe it was I don't know what kind of factors could have contributed to that, but his power play goal scoring was way down last year, just FYI for everyone out there listening. I just worry about foot speed at his age to be able to skate 5-on-5 with a team that plays like this team likes to play. But I also could be guilty of sort of overstating that concern. Maybe it's offset by the help he might provide on the power play. Because
he's not getting as much 5-on-5, he's more of a DH, right? And he's just kind of inserting him when you need him on the ice. What's his ice time?
Yeah, or it's just, this we got him to do this. We know there's going to be shortcomings elsewhere, but if he does this, it's a net win kind of thing, maybe for them. So I wonder, but it definitely, to me, any thought to signing him requires moving a couple of pieces off of the current roster. Like there's no room. Like I made the lines last week, Sal, and I forgot Osland. I didn't have, I'm someone who thinks like Sam Carrick should be this team's 4th line center. I think that you talk about faceoffs. I think that's a great idea, right? I think they're going to re-sign Krebs. So he and Malenstein, like that's my 4th line. And then everything else is kind of spoken for. If McLeod is still here, if Quinn is still here, if they're not, then that opens up a center spot for Osland. That opens up a wing spot for Patrick Kane. And I think you've pretty much got your team. You've got Hellenius in there, Osland in there, Kulik in there, all that. But I think without a move taking a couple of forwards away, I don't even have room for Osland right now, let alone Patrick Kane.
And they want room for Osland.
Of course, yeah, they should.
I know that next to my name is Buffalo Bills beat reporter, but we both know enough people in this town and people who work around these teams to be able to, hear things. And I will tell you, this isn't like super secret information, but the Sabres absolutely love their young guys, and not only love them, but Jarmo, it was even said in the press conference, like he doesn't want to trade these guys. Part of the reason that he doesn't want to trade them is there's just not quite enough of a book of work on them yet, right? Which is, man, if you do that now, you could really regret it. Maybe a year from now, you understand a little bit more. Maybe you say, hey, we should have done it last year. You'd rather do that than trade one now and say, oh my God, what did I do? Then wait a year and go, you know what? He never really developed. The other thing I'll tell you is, Bulldog, I'm telling you, they love Yuri Kulik. They love Yuri Kulik. And even though I love Yuri Kulik, I think coming back a lot, that is still some if and hope, right? Because you don't know. It is still if and hope on Hellenius. There's still if and hope on Osland. Like, you just don't know. You asked me about their offseason. Look, it feels to me, I know Matt said he feels like another move's coming. Maybe. It feels to me like they are really banking on the way they'll be better is simply the growth of those kids. Yeah. And I don't know if I like that, because they're certainly not a better team on the ice right now than they were the night they lost Game 7 to the Canadiens.
That's exactly where I am. Could it work? Yeah. I mean, if Hellenius becomes a Rookie of the Year candidate, then, you expect more production from all of the kids. Kulik is a true wild card. It's funny. I mentioned this with Nate yesterday because you've mentioned this to me about Kulik before, and you're like the third or fourth different person that I know in media. Not all of them work here, that has said that to me. And what I said to Nate yesterday is I always get a little like the first time, like maybe you were the first person to tell me that. And I went, oh, wow, that's interesting. Okay, file it away. Then I get another person telling me, and then another, and I just start to think, like, stop trying to sell me how good Yuri Kulik is. Like, I don't know. It feels like buy a billboard already. It just feels like a campaign a little bit. That doesn't mean it's disingenuous. It makes me skeptical. It feels like they're trying to sell us on him, and that I don't know, that just sets off alarms for me a little bit, I guess.
I totally get that. I totally get it. But you're right. If you kind of put the pieces together right now, I don't know where the room is. And, you would have to move a couple of people to make these things happen. And even then, though, I'm a little bit myself. I'm skittish. I don't want to trade any of these young guys, but I also don't know if I'm going to get the same growth I hope I get. And you do have to stay healthy. I mean, that is part of the sport, and that has happened here. And they were not completely healthy at the end of the season. So you're banking on a lot of ifs. And right now, I think that's where they are without saying another move is coming. I'm not as firmly entrenched on that as Matt is. I think it's possible another move's coming. They certainly could sign Patrick Kane. They certainly could make a trade for Hellebuck, which would be obviously a really big deal. I just think they really have a lot of belief that they're going to get better simply by internal growth.
Yeah. I want to say, like, I love Matt's trade package because it didn't involve, although he did say one more thing. Like, I think if you can put a trade package together to get Hellebuck from Winnipeg, whether it involves Luukkonen or not, that doesn't involve one of those three kids, I mean, wizardry.
Yeah.
Because I just think whatever Winnipeg is going to ask for back, they're going to ask for something that's going to hurt, right? And what you have to decide if you're Yarmo is, I'm sure they've got their own internal rankings on the three guys, and maybe it's exactly right, like you said, that Kulich is at the very top, and they're like, okay, well, which guy would we, most easily maybe bet against, and that's the guy you include in the trade, and then you cross your fingers that the guy doesn't turn into like a 100-point, animal or something. But I just, none of the names. I like Murtka fine, and Quinn has kind of grown on me. McLeod I can take or leave. Like, none of that hurts. Like, I'm riding in my car, and they announce a trade, and I hear it's Murtka, and it's Quinn, and it's McLeod, and it's a future number one. I'm like, this is the Bowen Byram trade all over again. I think you just took this team to the cleaners. It almost has to include a guy that you go, oh, I didn't want to give him up, because it's Connor Hellebuck. Like, I don't know. That just seems... It seems far-fetched to me that you could pull it off without giving up one of those kids.
And it feels to me like Murtka would be a really important player here for all of this because he's not Yarmo's pick. I know he was in the organization, but he wasn't his pick. And when you draft a kid that size at that position, and he's regarded as a really top prospect, but you don't have that same attachment to him that Kevin Adams would have, that makes it a little more palatable, right? So It feels to me like he's got to be some sort of really big piece of whatever's happening this offseason in these talks.
I think that's absolutely right. I mean, the fact that Kleber has come along like he has, and you just drafted Rudolph. Rudolph's very different than those two. Kleber's more defensive-minded. Murtka's more like sort of a work-in-progress type guy. But still, you're stocked with right-handed D-men here that, one of them could be expendable. So maybe that ends up being enough to get something across the finish line. I don't know. All right. Well, I'm glad we had some time to play with that, Sal. I'll tell you what, we're getting close to. Well, I'm going to take a break and then another break quickly. So I know you got to get to Hurdle for it's a house playoff game you got tonight.
We got house playoffs. Well, they started last night. Our team plays tonight. There's 12 teams. We're the 4 seed.
Well,
5 seed.
Get yourself a little 10-minute head start and go get rolling there. And thanks for this. And we'll pick up probably next week sometime.
All right, you got it, buddy. Thank you.
All right, there's Sal Capaccio. He's been cool enough to hang out with us for almost a couple of hours, but we'll let him roll out to his evening commitments. I've got Paul Hamilton booked to come in and ruin everything at the top of the hour, so you can look forward to that. Always a fun and, can be adventurous visit with Paul. So stay tuned for that. I'm the Bulldog. Mike Schopp is away on vacation this week. You're listening to WGR. With us here on a Wednesday. Right now, I hope you're hungry. Be caller 5 right now at 716-221-4WGR. That's 4947 for your chance to win a $50 gift card to Connor's Restaurant on Seneca Street in West Seneca. Every Wednesday, you can score 4 Connor's Beef on Weck meals for just $55 or 1 for $15 because Connor's is better. All right, get on that. Who doesn't love a little free beef? Beef on Weck Wednesdays here on the radio. I had a couple things I wanted to get to, knowing that I was going to let Sal bail out here, but I don't even have enough. You know what I'll do? In an hour, I promise. I'm already screwed. I'm going to leave enough time. That Major League Baseball last night had 3 pretty incredible, amazing, and sad things occur all in the same night. And I didn't see any of the one, but I saw all of the other 2, and I don't have enough time now. I know it seems like now I'm just killing time. I should have just been out. I already did mention with Sal and Beauvais during the 4 o'clock segment that the Yankees struck out. This is one of the things, so I'll mention this part here. The Yankees struck out 17 times last night for the second game in a row to the Tampa Bay Rays. They also struck out 17 times on Monday night. So 17 strikeouts in a game, back-to-back nights. The Yankees have now lost 10 out of 12. The first 4 of those, I believe, were to the Red Sox, who, look, I'm just saying they're not in last place anymore. But by a half a game. But, whatever. Look, it's progress. I'll take a timeout. Paul Hamilton after this on WGR.
No World Cup games today. The quarterfinal will begin tomorrow as France will take on Morocco. Meanwhile, in hockey, Chicago's Connor Bedard underwent shoulder surgery, and the approximate recovery time is 4 months. The team announcing that today. That timeline would mean that Bedard would miss the start of the regular season. Meanwhile, there's still a decision to be made on Anaheim Ducks center Leo Carlsson and the offer sheet from the Philadelphia Flyers. That deadline is on Friday. There was an offer sheet decision made today by the Utah Mammoth. They match New Jersey's one-year $4.775 million offer sheet toward forward Barrett Hayton. Hayton will remain with Utah and then hit unrestricted free agency next year. To baseball, Tigers pitcher Justin Verlander announced today that he will retire after this season. Meanwhile, Blue Jays pitcher Max Scherzer is scheduled to make a rehab start for the Buffalo Bisons today. They host Scranton at Salem Field at 6:35, first pitch in downtown Buffalo. You could also hear that game on our sister station, the Bet 1520. MLB games on the docket today. Right now, the Jays and the Giants, as Toronto still up 5-0 in the bottom of the fifth. The other games going on later tonight. Yankees taking on the Rays at 6:40. Mets and Royals first pitch at 7:10. It's the Guardians and the Twins at 7:40. It's the same start time for the Red Sox and the White Sox. Those updates brought to you by Paddock Chevrolet, with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Derek Kramer. You're listening to WGR.
Very few people in general society, other walks of life other than radio talk show professionals like myself, are going to be able to appreciate the feeling of getting the last word and punctuation and hitting send on a text just as the intro music is coming to an end, or the big voice guy's done saying Paul's name and I'm supposed to start talking. And I'm now wasting the time that I saved by saying this, but it's such a feeling of accomplishment. I did it! Yes! Not really. I'm exaggerating only a little. Paul Hamilton's on the West Here Hotline with us. Not to ruin everything, like I said. I can be a jerk face when it comes to Paul sometimes. Paul, how's the summer treating you so far?
All right. How about you?
Good. The studio air conditioning situation seems to have been rectified. I don't know if you're aware of this.
Oh, that's good.
But
yeah,
it was
I
like
heard
85 degrees for like days on end in here, and it was pretty tough. But we stabilized. We're good. Sneaky Joe brought in this fan that actually somehow, I know I'm going to sound like I've been asleep in a cave for 50 years, but it actually blows cold air. Like it's a magic trick. Like people have said, well, get fans in there. I'm like, a fan's just going to blow the hot air around. That's not going to help me. This thing, it doesn't look like an air conditioner, but it's like a little mini air conditioner. I don't know the technology, Paul. The world, what an ever-changing place.
Well, they have a thing called Google. I think you need to get to work.
Yeah, that's probably
figure it out.
That's probably right. So a lot of this week already. I talked to Greg Wyshynski on Monday. We talked to Luke Fox yesterday. Talking to you today, and Mike even made this point last week Thursday before we all sailed out of here for the long holiday weekend. I know it usually feels like nothing in hockey happens. You know, once you get past the 4th of July, I know you're going to tell me about Jeff Skinner in August that one year, but like that's one time in like 30 years of doing this. That's like, so it's pretty, it's uncommon. But yet Dylan Larkin still, that situation is unresolved, and maybe it will be resolved by nothing happening, and he's just there because he's got 5 years on his contract. But the, Hellebuck stuff, see what Jason Robertson, what happens there. Like, none of the big things that we thought might happen at the draft or around free agency happened. So I wonder, do you think we're in for a busier July and August than normal?
Well, it's up to Dylan Larkin. I mean, from what I'm reading, he really has not loosened up his teams that he will go to. So the Red Wings are like, okay, guess you're going to play here this year because, it's not working. What you've laid out for us isn't working. So, it sounds like he's going to have to be a little more flexible. And if he gets flexible towards, thinking maybe the Buffalo Sabres are a good idea, they definitely need to dive into that and try to figure that out. He would be the guy that, if I'm going to overpay for something, that's the guy. I think, he would be just what the Sabres would need. But right now, the Buffalo Sabres don't seem to be on his radar. So after that, whether it's Hellebuck, again, it's who knows? I mean, you don't know if it was just a 1 year blip. I mean, if you look at it, Luukkonen actually had a better year than Hellebuck did last year, but it's 1 year. Was it just a 1 year thing, or is he on his way down, or what is the deal? Do you want to risk $8.5 million on your salary cap to find out? Do you want to risk $8.5 million on your salary cap to find out if he can all of a sudden become a playoff goaltender? It's happened. Bobrovsky, there's your example. He was just like Hellebuck. Would win awards in the regular season and play well, was awful in the playoffs until he wasn't. Then all of a sudden, he's got 2 Stanley Cups out of nowhere. So it can be done, but do you want to take that chance?
He did play very well in the playoffs prior to the previous 3 seasons. There's no argument. His save percentage, he was a bit, especially last year, he was a big letdown because didn't they not win the President's Trophy last year? All right, so there's no escaping that. But there's a year in there with like a 927 in 2 rounds or so of playoffs. Like it's not like he's always fallen flat in the playoffs, but the last 3 years he has, and that's probably what you should be more concerned with anyways than what he looked like when he was 25 years old, because he is 33 currently. So,
and if you don't play the heck out of him in the regular season, might he be a better playoff goalie?
Right,
then?
Yeah.
That can be part of it. I've always believed that was a big part of it, that they just kept playing him and playing him and playing him until there was nothing left. And I've always felt that's kind of part of it.
I want to make sure that I'm clear. It's the second time today I'm going to mention this. I think a lot of us, I don't know about you, Paul, have you mostly assumed that like Luukkonen would be included in a Connor Hellebuck Winnipeg Jets trade package?
Probably, yeah.
Right.
They'd want a goaltender back, so yeah, probably he would be included.
And the Sabres would want to offload him anyway if they're getting Connor Hellebuck, right? They're not going to have $13 million worth of goalies on the team between those 2 guys with Hellebuck's salary and Luukkonen's added in. The hitch there, the reason I ask the way I ask is as of July 1, Luukkonen's got 5-team trade protection. And I don't know what teams he would put on it, but much the way people would say this about Buffalo or Edmonton before they got McDavid, like if I've got 5 teams that I don't want to go to, I might guess that Winnipeg is on that list. I'm just guessing. So for the sake of the exercise, if he can, well, we know he can, if he were to choose to block that, is there a trade package out there you think the Sabres could put together that would make it work for Winnipeg that doesn't include Luukkonen?
Depends how deep you want to go into Helenu, Saucelin, that group. I mean, Quinn, we hear was part of the original package, and then they got greedy, and it's like no, you're getting the 4th overall pick. You're not getting Helenus and
right.
And Mertka and Quinn and our whole team here, so. It just kind of went to bed. And maybe one of the reasons we aren't hearing much about it is maybe Luukkonen does have Winnipeg on that list, which maybe would shoot the whole thing if and I'm just saying maybe.
Yeah.
I'm just speculating if because, it's kind of been put to bed. It really hasn't been talked about much that is even a possibility recently. So, I don't know. It's just, I've been saying this all along. It's just not the direction I'm heading in. If I have money to spend, it's not on him. It's on a forward. That's the way I would go. I don't think their goaltending is bad as people make it out to be. And I would rather, if I were them, be looking for a special forward to put on the team more than I would be looking for a goaltender.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm sort of at a point here where I wanted them to do something that would in theory anyway, I mean, obviously we want it to be more than just a theory, make the team better, improve the team. And I feel like the forward, unless Larkin decides that Buffalo is an appealing destination, I don't know that all that other stuff is still percolating. Like maybe Toronto has decided that it's smarter to hang on to Matthew Knies than trade him. They filled out their bottom six of their roster anyway with guys who at least have, you recognize the names if you watch hockey like we watch hockey. So they might not feel like they need 3 NHL, bottom 6 pieces or 2 for Matthew Knies anymore and just leave him where he is. So I feel like the Hellebuyck thing still, like Winnipeg, if he's made it known to them that he doesn't want to be there, I would think they're still motivated, and it's a pretty short list of teams that I think Carolina and Buffalo have been the most prominently mentioned teams, right? Florida was in it, but then they made their move for Markstrom, so they're off. Edmonton is traded for Devin Levi, and they also signed Freddie Anderson, and I know neither of those are great ideas, but that might be their try at fixing goalie this year. Plus, I don't know if they have the money to take on an $8.5 million goalie without making other changes. So the fact that Winnipeg might still be motivated and I'm on a short list of teams that fit makes me feel like if something's going to happen, I would expect Buffalo to maybe still be in on it, unless they're mad about how things didn't transpire before July 1st.
I don't think Jarmo Kekalainen is a guy that's going to get mad. I mean, it's like, all right, circle back. Let's talk again.
Yeah.
Whatever we were talking about before is not going to work. So if we're going to talk again, let's talk about other things. How to make it work. So I one thing I have to say, and maybe you can help me, I can't for the life of me figure out why Carolina would be in on this. Bussy was really, really good in the regular season. So good, they signed him to a contract. And then when they needed him most in the playoffs, not only did he get them through, he came through and played really, really well. I mean, to me, they've got their goalie. I don't understand at all why they're in on it. I don't get it. Bussy seems to be their answer.
Yeah, I wonder. Like, it's always been interesting that when the playoffs started, he was on the bench and it was Anderson.
Yeah.
Like, maybe they didn't trust him, but that should be over now that he's, came in and played as well as he did at the end to help them win the cup. Maybe they just think, like, Bussy would be nice insurance for Hellebuyck. And also, we haven't done anything to really improve our team. And I know we won the cup, but let's try to improve our team. I don't know. I think you raise a good question. Why are they in on it? I think maybe they just are worried about being, the kid they have, Kochetkov, I think is the name.
Yeah, the Russian.
He's been hurt a lot. And that's really the reason Bussy got the chance he got. So they might feel like they're short if they just have Bussy and him. So, go big or go home.
I guess the point I would make would you go out and get an $8.5 million goaltender if you just think you're a little bit short.
Yeah.
The way Bussy played, not just the playoffs. I'm talking about the regular season.
I know.
He was so good.
Great. Yeah.
Every time I watched him in the regular season, I'm like, wow. And they got him off waivers. Right. The type of, and that's why I always bring up Ellis. He came on waivers too. There were some things I did like about Ellis along the way. And it just, you never know. If he gets a chance because of an injury or something, like fairly close to early in the season, I mean, he could wind up taking the job. I wouldn't be shocked by it, let me put it that way.
I wonder, I'll try one more time on an answer to your Bussy question.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wonder because I watched him play against the Sabres, and I watched him a couple of other times, and I saw him, obviously, in the final. Mm-hmm. I wonder if going through it, like you would if you were, someone running a team or charged with analyzing your goaltender's performance, went through it and just found that he had just the good fortune season of all good fortune. Like, right, just there was just, maybe they don't think it's repeatable because there was just, a lot of misses or anything. Maybe they're looking at it as going, I don't know, there's not enough here for us to trust he's our number one goalie.
Yeah, maybe. Well, there's something there.
Yeah.
I mean, if they have an interest, there's something there that they don't trust.
That's my best try at an explanation to you.
It's something, obviously, it's been figured out behind closed doors. And so if they're in on Hellebuck, there's something they don't like.
Because I know, like, a goalie plays like the Sabre game that they played there on, I think it was Martin Luther King Day. He stole that game, right? That was that afternoon game.
Yep.
And he stole it. You were there.
Yep.
But, like, in stealing it, how many of those were like, oh, I can't believe Tage Thompson missed the top half of the open net? You know what I mean? Like, if you're in charge of really analyzing his performance, maybe you found a lot of just bad luck for shooters. I don't know. All right, I already tried twice. That's enough. So here's the thing, though, that I still do like about a Hellebuck trade, and I was talking earlier in the show today with Sal and his podcast partner from Channel 7, Matt Beauvais, about this, and I can't we were talking about Patrick Kane, right? That's been out there, and I know we've talked about that some already, and we'll do some more of it now. The idea of, like, signing him right now is insane, because I made the lines, Paul, and, like, you might make different ones than I make, and I saw Matthew Fairburn made his, and, you know, we might all be different. But when I did mine, I honestly forgot Ostlund, okay? Like, because there's just not enough spaces. Especially,
remember, I told you I didn't like where I had Ostlund.
Right. So, all right. So if I can, some way, shape, or form, include, say, just hypothetically, McLeod and Quinn, and then, you know, whatever's going to make it hurt, right? Mertka, one of the kids, hopefully not, you know, whatever. But you're getting into the list here, and you turn that into Hellebuck. Well, then I have a spot for Ostlund because he's in McLeod's spot. And now I have a spot for Patrick Kane because he's in Quinn's spot. And the kids are all in the lineup, and I've got the goalie, and I replaced Byram, and I feel like I put a bow on my offseason and go, well, there it is. And, like, Kane's not my favorite idea because I'm not sure about him skating 5-on-5 with this team. But I still think in that scenario, I think if I could pull off all of that, I would do it.
I think in Kane, you're paying $3 to $4 million, whatever it might be, for a power play guy.
Yeah.
Because your power play is just so bad that you want to plug him in, a guy who had 2 goals and 17 assists on the power play for 19 points, and your power play was just, a lot of the times was middle of the road, but just was bad quite often. So I think that is that would be the reason you would be signing him. To say, well, if we improve our power play, we're going to improve our team. Look at where we got without a decent power play. Imagine where we might be able to get with a decent power play. So that would be, you know, the only thing I would be looking at there with him.
How do you feel about where Thompson has to play, should play, will play? Do you think he's a winger now, or do you think he goes back to center?
Well, again, it just depends who's on the team. I mean, if Kulik is healthy and Norris is healthy, he's a winger, because I think those two are centermen.
Yep.
Kulik has proven, both in the American League and the National League, time and time again, he's not a winger, where Ostlund and Helenius look like they can play the wing, even though they're both centers. Kulik can't.
Yeah.
So I mean, and I like before last year where he got hurt. I mean, the year before I liked him at center, and
I did too, in his own
did.
end too. Yeah.
He's improved in his own end. He's got a heck of a shot. So I wouldn't mind him getting first chance there. So yeah, if he's healthy, which every indication is that he will be, and Norris stays healthy through training camp. Now there's only 4 preseason games, so a little bit more of an opportunity to stay healthy since you're adding 2 regular season games to the docket. No, Thompson for sure then I think is a wing.
How do you think he'll handle that?
I think he'll live. I think he'll have more of a trouble handling that Tuck's not around. I think I don't know what he's thinking. I don't know if he feels maybe the Sabres should have done more to try to keep him. And we probably never will know. I don't think he's going to come out and say,
right,
boy, we really blew it and we should have kept Alex Tuck, or you know what, if Alex was asking that much, I support the team and what they did. I just don't think, where he's going to want to, nor
right.
should he.
I know what he's going to say when he gets here.
Yeah.
Like, I love the kids and we're ready to go and all this. But, what is he thinking right now at his cottage about Tuck leaving the team? Yeah.
So I think it's more about what is he thinking about that than what position is he going to be playing. Because Lindy kind of screws around with it mid-game anyway at times, and next thing you know, you see guys at center that weren't at center, and so chances are he's still going to play at times both. But I think if those two guys are healthy, I think he starts on the wing, and I don't think he's going to have too much of a heart attack about it.
Where do you think the Krebs contract comes in, Paul? Because that seems like, even for arbitration, if it gets there, it seems like a really hard one. This is a guy that was playing on the top line in the playoffs for this team. And I'm thinking of this thing Sal used to always say about certain linemen on the Bills that could play all three positions, and therefore they were sort of held back from ever becoming a starter because the team liked having their versatility as a backup. Now, Krebs isn't a backup, but he's versatile. He's probably this team's fourth line left wing or center, depending on how you want to shake it down here and what you think of Carrick. But he played first line minutes in the playoffs. So, how do you arrive at a fair number there?
Yeah, I think $3.5 to $4 million is a fair number. I think if it gets too far over 4, I think it's starting to get a little ridiculous. So even with all the different things that he does and the intangibles that he brings to the game, quite honestly, these things tend to get figured out before the arbitration hearing. Sometimes an hour before. Hearings at 1, at 11 they come up with a deal. Type of a situation. So I could still see that happening. Now, we don't know Kekalainen that well. He hasn't been around that long as far as a Sabre goes, general manager. So I don't know what kind of negotiation he does in those types of situations. But, and that's the thing. Do the Sabres want to take a chance that this is going to go crazy? And it's like, wow, you got to be kidding me. It's not like they can't handle whatever the award is. They can handle it on their cap. They got enough cap room. But, do you want to be paying him that kind of money when you don't need to? And in his case, might he be fearful that, you know what, even though I got some points, maybe not enough, and maybe I'll get less than I feel I should type of a situation. So that's usually the way kind of those things go. So some hearings do get to the end, but I think more don't than do. It just seems that way. And so it wouldn't shock me at all if they figured something out before the hearing. And the hearing has not been scheduled as far as I've seen.
Here's one for you. Just looking at the season-long stats here. 12 and 27. Those are Krebs' numbers. Goals and assists. Played all 82.
All career highs.
In the regular season for 39 points. Benson only played 65 games, but Benson had 4 more points total, which is so funny. I know they're not the same player, and they're not playing the same role, and the upside isn't the same, but it's just kind of funny. If I'm Peyton Krebs, it is $7 million. I had 4 fewer points. What are we doing here?
But they both bring intangibles.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're just looking at, and we all know this, but if we're just looking at points, then we're scratching our head going, why did Benson get $7.5 million? Right. Are you kidding me? What are they doing? But we understand the intangibles. We've seen the intangibles. We get to see him game in and game out. So we understand it. There are also intangibles with Krebs that are different than what you see in Benson. I don't even think he's close to the value that Benson, I think, brings to the table. But, and as I said, if it starts crawling over $4 million, I'd be going, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
But if it stays between 3.5, 4, I think that's should be a comfortable number for both sides.
And the other thing with Benson is I think the arrow is still pointed up.
Absolutely.
Whereas Krebs, I don't know what more Krebs is going to do from a production standpoint. Whereas Benson, I think they probably envision him becoming a 50 to 60 point player, which, is in line with what he ends up getting paid here. I mentioned Carrick a couple of times here, Paul, before we run out of time. I mean, I know, we have other days, but is he your fourth line center? Because I think he is for me. He's under contract, reasonable number, and I think there's a lot to like there that just barely got off the ground when he got here.
Not right now. He's my fifth line center right now. Right now, the fourth line, and I keep saying I don't like it. I have Krebs between Malenstein and Ostlund, and I look at Ostlund there, and I'm thinking, no, that's not where he belongs.
No.
But then I look at, well, who else am I dropping? I hate Ostlund there. It almost like I think I would put Ostlund in McLeod's spot and drop him, put Krebs on the wing and put McLeod at center before I would stick Ostlund on that line. But right now, I would have Danforth and Carrick, and I don't have my lines open.
Kozak as your extras.
As the extras.
All right, so we disagree there.
Fifth line.
I mean, I want to find a place for Ostlund, but really I have him out of the lineup intentionally, so every time I grab my sheet off of the wall, I can say I forgot to put him on a line. Because I think,
well, if he's not on a line, then he's in Rochester, and I don't see any need for him to be. Lindy Ruff loves him. And as Lindy Ruff said when he started putting him out in the last 30 seconds of games. And he's like, I have time for Noah Ostlund at any time, at any point in the game. It does not make me nervous whatsoever to put him out in any situation. So the head coach has already said this publicly about a kid who's 21 years old and just started playing in the National Hockey League. So he already feels that way about him.
I love the idea of putting him in McLeod's spot. I don't love $5 million as my fourth line center in McLeod. I'd rather have Carrick. So I'm back to make a trade, Paul.
And I don't like how. But the thing is with him, who is he? Is he the player that from 2 years ago that was really good?
Yeah.
Or is he the player last year who did have 2 more points, not as many goals, but did have 2 more points, but defensively was so bad in the playoffs that Lindy Ruff had to take him off his line?
Yeah.
Which guy is it? And then that's the thing. And so if you're looking, well, should you move that $5 million? Well, who do you got? Which guy is this guy?
Right. All right, Paul, we're out of time for now. Let's do this again on Friday. All new questions.
Sounds good.
There'll probably be some of the same ones. I'm just saying. All right. Thanks, Paul. Paul's appearance here on WGR brought to you by Raylax Honda. Raylax, we got this. Yeah, man. I mean, they've got at least one too many guys. That's it. They've got at least one too many guys. So, I don't know, man. The goalie thing is still out there. I don't know if this other stuff is out there. I have mostly not – I love the Dylan Larkin idea in theory. I just don't think there's any way he's waving to come here. Like, if he's as tight with Eichel as he's purported to be, like if I were Eichel, I'd expect my friend to go, I ain't going there. They wouldn't let my guy get his surgery. I'm not – no. I can get my money somewhere else. But that's just me. Maybe Tage could convince him. I don't know. I would love it if he could. Like that's the moon to shoot for, I think. More than Hellebuck. Like Hellebuck is just there's chatter around it, so we're always talking about it. And Larkin seems like, a dead idea, but it is to me a much better thing to pursue if it is made available to you. And I again not optimistic that it will be. All right, I hope that all made sense. I'll take a time out here, 803-0550. You want to get in on any of the football stuff we talked about in the front end of the show or the hockey stuff we've been talking about for the last 45 minutes or so, please do feel free to hop in. Again, 803-0550 is the number. Mike is away this week. I am the Bulldog, and you're listening to WGR.
No World Cup games today as the quarterfinals will get started tomorrow. France and Morocco will introduce the round. Over to hockey in the NHL, Chicago's Connor Bedard underwent shoulder surgery. The approximate recovery time is 4 months, the team announcing that today. That timeline would mean that Bedard would miss the start of the regular season. There's a decision to be made for the Anaheim Ducks regarding center Leo Carlsson. They have to deal with the Philadelphia Flyers offer sheet for the Anaheim center, that deadline being on Friday. Meanwhile, there was another offer sheet decision made today, the Utah Mammoth matching the 1-year $4.775 million offer sheet from the New Jersey Devils on forward Barrett Hayton. To baseball, Tigers pitcher Justin Verlander announced today that he will retire after the season. Blue Jays pitcher Max Scherzer scheduled to make a rehab start for the Buffalo Bisons. They host Scranton tonight in downtown Buffalo. 6:35 first pitch at Salem Field. You can hear the game as well on our sister station, the Bet 1520. MLB games on the docket. The Blue Jays still up 5-0 on the Giants as that one's heading toward its end. It's the end of the 7th in that one. Yankees and Rays getting started at 6:40. Mets and Royals 7:10. Guardians and Twins at 7:40. Same time for the Red Sox taking on the White Sox. Those are your sports headlines brought to you by Paddock Chevrolet, with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Derek Kramer. You're listening to WGR.
If they are in, they have a chance to go to the Super Bowl every single year because of Josh Allen and just getting hot at the right time. I don't think, even though we just did all this whole conversation, I don't really see a world where they're the 1 seed in the AFC. I just think the schedule is too hard, and for them to win 13 or 14 games feels a bit far-fetched.
That is our friend Matt Beauvais, News Channel 7 sports director and co-host of the It's Always Game Day in Buffalo podcast, with our Sal Capaccio from earlier today, talking some. We had a nice time with Matt, talked some football and a little bit of hockey squeezed in at the end. I'm the Bulldog. Appreciate y'all being with us today. I mentioned, I think an hour ago, didn't I? Yeah, we were coming up to well, it wasn't quite an hour ago, that I had a few baseball things I wanted to mention, and I didn't have time for them all. And I said, oh, well, I'll wait. I'll do it an hour from now. And like, if I wait until like I got to do it now. See, 30 years I figured out, like, I'm gonna do this part now, because I had a very cool experience. Just very good timing, I guess, last night with the baseball. I mentioned the Yankees struck out 17 times in a loss in Tampa, and they did that also the night before. They've now lost 10 of 12. I, as those of you who really pay attention to this radio show would know, that of course I was not watching the Yankees play in Tampa, because I refuse to watch baseball games played in Tampa. The stadium looks just, there's a lot of very unkind and maybe swearing type words I could use here, but it's unflattering. It's just not. If there's choices, I've loved the Red Sox. I'm not as aggressive about it now, and I don't even have the extra innings thing to watch all the games anymore. And I used to watch probably 100 or more Red Sox games a year when I was full on. But I would do something else if they were in Tampa. I just could not. I just can't stand it. So I wasn't watching that. What I did do is I got home and surfed through no soccer for the first time in weeks. So, okay, what am I going to do? I get the Pirates games on my my Fubo account. So I click on that right away. First thing I see is Paul Skeens. He's given up a run in the first inning. Like, oh, bummer. But, okay, it's Skeens. All right, that's it. Easy decision. I'm going to watch the Pirates. And what I got paid off by watching the Pirates was that someone named Ryan O'Hearn hit a grand slam in the first inning, a 3-run home run, I think it was in the third, and then another 3-run home run in the sixth. No Pirates player had ever driven in 10 runs in a single game. This dude did it last 32 years old, Royals, Orioles, Padres. He played 100 or more games a couple of times for Baltimore, so it's not like he's completely unknown, even hit like in the teens in home runs, maybe both of those years with Baltimore. But still not something. This is quite a few years ago too now. 32 years old. Who's this guy? He's got 16 home runs now, I think, for Pittsburgh. But it was so cool. Like he hit the grand slam. Okay, he's up again. Wow, 3-run home run. He came up in between the 2 3-run home runs, and I think grounded into a fielder's choice. I mean, yawn. But still, that was super cool. And then as I was winding down, and by winding down, I mean turning off the big TV in the living room and watching on my iPad as I try to fall asleep, I turned on the Mets. Mets and Royals, there were a few games still going on, and that game was 9-9 in the 7th. It said on the Fubo screen, the home screen, will give you at least, maybe you got to ask for it, I don't know, but it gives you the score of the game before you even choose to click on it. So 9-9, 7th inning. Okay, well, I'm going there. That sounds like fun. So I go there, and on the mound for the Mets is 31-year-old rookie making his major league debut, native of Long Island, New York, a guy by the name of Matt Seelinger. Wow, who can't get 31 years old? Been journeyman, minor leagues, riding the buses, bumping around, never got the call. And now the Mets, I can't remember if they just claimed him or if there was a low-level trade or whatever, but they called him right up, and he's out there. 9-9, top of the 7th, right? Throws the first pitch, it's a ball, catcher rolls it to the dugout for a souvenir. Okay. Guy eventually hits he walks that first batter, and then Sal Perez, the fine catcher for the Royals, hit a double, scored that guy, so now the lead is gone, it's 10-9. He strikes out the next guy, I think, ball rolls to the dugout again, souvenir time, and then proceeds to give up 7 runs on 4 hits in that inning. I at one point, one of my friends texted me about this because I alluded to it. I didn't say what I was going to talk about, but I alluded to it. And he's like, "Are you talking about that guy, Seelinger?" I'm like, "Yep." And I told him I watched the whole thing, which is, there's a little bit of a lie in there. I saw him cough up the lead. I saw like more runners on base and like whatever. And I'm not kidding. I dozed off. I'm in bed. I'm like, this is wind down time. I just dozed off and woke up to 16-9 and him walking off the mound at the end of the inning. I'm like, oh, that's too bad. That's too bad. 31 years old. I mean, Long Island native. I don't know. They didn't show. Well, they might have. I, as I mentioned, fell asleep. But it was gripping, I tell you. I don't know if like family, friends, whatever. I don't know what kind of scene there was for him, but 7 runs in the he came out for the 8th, gave up a double, and then recorded 3 outs. Like he stabilized, but just for fun, because I'm a ghoul like this. You ever like think about, what's his ERA? His ERA is 35. I mean, he pitched 2 innings, recorded 6 outs, and gave up 7 runs. They were all earned. It's a tough one. Tough times for Matt Seelinger. Will never be topped by, listen, all right, kids, gather around the radio. Grandpa Bulldog's got to tell you a little story about the before times, all right? I used to look at box scores in the paper all the time. It was just a way to kill time. It was a way to get some value out of the paper. I don't know. I would look at box scores, like who had doubles, who had, especially the Red Sox, but I would look, and maybe this is in particular because it was against the Red Sox. There was an early season outing by a pitcher by the name of Andy Hawkins for the Yankees. Maybe he had a career. He had an outing early in the year against Boston where I don't remember the particulars. I don't remember how many runs he gave up. All I know is that he recorded 0 outs in the outing, and the way the paper did the box scores then, I'm sure it was like from the AP or whatever service they would subscribe to, the box score would have a running total on the pitcher's ERA like after that outing, right? And so this is his first outing of the year. He recorded no outs. I'm not kidding you. In the little column where earned run average would be represented in the box score was the infinity symbol. I would have taken a picture with my phone, but it was like 1979, so I didn't have a phone. I had a phone. It had a rotary dial on it. It belonged to my parents, and you couldn't take photos with it. So I didn't, preserve it. I didn't cut it out and put it in a scrapbook. But Andy Hawkins, ERA, infinity symbol. I mean, ruthless, these people. That is the best. Now we would just put like maybe NA. Right? It's like not applicable. Or it's like some like incomplete. Like I got on my, high school trigonometry exam. Like actual grade lower than what we can write down, maybe, was the notification I got on my trig exam. I wasn't big on the math, still not. Anyway, infinity symbol for ERA was strong. Anyway, Matt Seelinger, fare thee well. I hope you hang around. Maybe that 8th inning on the heels of the 7th gets you another outing, and you can work that 35 earned run average down to a more manageable number. Like the goal, get it to the teens next outing, and then work from there. I would say maybe you can pull that off. Anyway, cool. What a cool night in baseball. I just fell into. The Seelinger thing was more of a curiosity and sad, but it was still kind of incredible to watch. The Ryan O'Hearn thing was bonkers. 3 home runs, 10 RBI, and it was in the 6th inning. I bailed. I'm sure he batted again. I doubt they took him out of the game, but he did not. They scored 2 more runs, so they won 12 to whatever. And but he drove in the 10 runs, a new Pirates record. A little baseball for you here on the Mighty 550. I'll take a timeout. I'm the Bulldog. 803-0550 is the number. If you got anything to say about the nonsense you're listening to, I'm here. Mike's on vacation this week. I'll be right back after this on WGR. Holy cow, this list is so much longer than I thought it was going to be. I just got sent on the heels of last segment, and I didn't complete all my work. I had more work I wanted to do, and I'm trying to do it while I'm talking to you all, and you can probably tell my face isn't even in front of the microphone. A listener sent me the list all-time pitchers in Major League Baseball history who have, not just for a game or a week or the start of a season, but all time, their ERA is infinity. They gave up runs and did not record outs. And, in most of these cases, we're talking about a game, 2 games, like somebody who got called up and got his nipples tattooed to the Green Monster, and then, that was it. So, there's not a lot of outings here, but I thought the list was like 8 guys. I like buzzed it quickly, and I keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. I mean, there's names on here from 1896, just so you know, but there's also one as current as 2021. Actually, a couple from 2021. Someone named Jonathan Stever with the White Sox pitched an inning, gave up 3 runs, no outs. There's a Cardinal guy pretty recent, too, I think from the same year. These aren't, I guess, I'm trying to figure out. Oh, it's alphabetical. I'm like, how is this list put together? Oh, there it is. So it's there's a lot of guys. I can't even I can't count them quickly now. Bernardo Flores is the guy from the Cardinals that did it also in 2021. 1 inning, 1 run, no outs. See you later. Never to be heard from. Maybe 2021. Maybe he's still out there. Maybe he gets another chance. But this guy from 1896 probably that's permanent. I think. Not only, by the way, did Andy Hawkins have a career. I thought this when I said it, he had this infinity next to his name there, but I said, he had a career. He threw a no-hitter. Complete game, but it's a no-hitter, but he lost. That's it, Hawkins, with the Yankees in 1990. His final Yankee appearance. Wow. But lost 4-0, no hits. He retired both infield Papa start the 8th. Sosa reached base on an error. Hawkins walked guys to load the bases, and they scored 3 unearned runs on a wind-aided ball hit by Robin Ventura. Holy cow. All right, so, yeah, that's a career. No hitter, but he lost. All right, timeout. Get back into some Bills and some Sabres with both Sal Capaccio, who was with me for the first 2 hours of today's show, and our buddy Matt Beauvais from Channel 7. That's coming your way right after this on WGR.